Thanks for coming in. Merv. So for the listeners out here, we have Merv Neal. It's Merv Neal, right?
You got it, Bill. Yes, I know we haven't done much preparation, but getting each other's name right is a good.
I've got Merv written down here. I've got Merv written down. I just want to make sure. Let's start that again, eh? No, just joking.
Another clap.
So Merv is here to talk about laughter yoga and the therapeutic benefits of laughter, I guess. Would that be fair to say?
Along with some other things. We've got some other things that we'd like to share with
some
the
other
people.
things,
Sure.
So which I find very fascinating. So as we said before the show, I don't go super deep in the preparation for these shows, but I do know a bit about your backstory. But why don't we start with that? Why don't we start with you just telling us a little bit about who you are and how you got to be, the laughter yoga guy.
Fantastic. So I've got a long backstory because I'm now 62 years old, but I'm going to start back in 2002, and that's when I got sick. So that's when the laughter stuff started. I'd been owning and operating my own businesses, still do, for quite some time. Then I was in a very, very stressful business. I was in IT during the Y2K phenomenon, and that was just a license to print money. People were saying, oh, we need new stuff, even though they didn't. And it was just a license to just sell as much stuff as we possibly could in a short period of time. So it was a nice time to be in business, but it was stressful. Now, I was already working really hard anyway. I tend to do that in my businesses, and we have to anyway. And all of a sudden, the Y2K thing come along, and it was like this big wave that you just surfed along. And we surfed along that wave for years and years, but I was totally ignorant of my health and looking after myself in that time. It was all about the money, the pursuit of money. So we got there, we rode the wave to success, made lots and lots of money. And then I look forward and I'm going, the business is going nowhere. It's just had its moment in the sun, a bit like the mining boom that we've just had. You can only dig up so much stuff and then you've dug it all up. And I look forward and I'm going, this business is going nowhere, time to get out. So I put it on the market and someone snapped it up really quickly because they're going, boy, this is a great business because you've made all this money, but little did they know it was about to fall off the cliff. At the same time, I was really tired. And I thought, not only is it about making money because the business is ripe for sale, it's time to get out because I'm really, really tired. And I think that was the first indication that I was actually consciously aware that I'd actually worked myself really, really hard. So we sold the business. That's the good news. Made some more money, which was good. And I sat back and I'm going, wow, after working so hard right from the age of 12 when I had my first business up until the age of 45, which I was then, worked really hard. So it's my time in the sun. I'm going to sit back and just enjoy this. And then I collapsed and they rushed me to hospital and the doctors looked at me and assessed me and they said, don't know what you've been doing, but, whatever you've done has been really, really detrimental to your health. You're in a lot of trouble. And I said, what's the diagnosis and the prognosis? And they said, well, the diagnosis is you have a blood disease, a really significant fatal blood disease, and there's not a lot we can do about it. I'm going, wow, but isn't that what you guys do? And they go, yeah, but not in this case. There's not a lot we can do. Why don't you go home and look after a few things? I'm going, gee, I think that was a really bad diagnosis there.
Right. That's about as bad as you can get.
Yeah, it was. It was a surreal time because as I walked into the hospital and going up in the lifts, and then I remember the lifts of the doors opening and I just saw oncology and I thought, I'm in trouble. I really thought that was the first real. I was still doing deals on the phone, and I just saw the word oncology, and I thought, "Hang on, I'm in trouble here." And I turned the phone off, and I thought, "This is serious stuff." And anyway, so when I got the diagnosis, I'm going, "What do I do?" And they just said, "Why don't you go and organise some stuff?" And I just started to laugh, and they said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Well, seriously, this is funny." They said, which part? I said, the whole thing. Now, what I meant by funny was absurd. Because I'd worked so hard to be so successful, and I finally got there, and all of a sudden, it's over. I go, wow, this is really wacky. I only found out recently, Bill, that this is a thing called pathological laughter. And it's when your brain doesn't quite line up with the other parts of your brain and you start to laugh crazy because your brain can't actually work out what was going on. So at that point of time, I think they wanted to sort of put me into another ward and lock me away and say, you know...
Yeah, the war the Joker was in.
Well,
for that, for all his laughter.
I got wards for people who laugh hysterically for no reason.
Yeah.
And I turned into one of them. And I convinced them to just let me go home. I said, you know, I really want to go home. I've got some things to do.
Yeah.
So I went home and did the 4 Fs: funeral, finances, family and friends. And I sat down and organised my own funeral.
So at this point, it was you were aware they'd said it was terminal, was it? Or
well, they said there was nothing they could do.
Right.
And they said what's happened is your bone marrow stopped producing blood, and when you stop producing blood, you know, nothing actually circulates around your body, so you're not going to last too long. And especially with the blood levels that I had, which were virtually zero, they can pretty easily compute how much longer you're going to last like that, and the answer was not very long at all.
While we continue on this timeline of your life,
Yep.
can I just jump into a question and ask
Sure.
you the initial moment when you're in that you know, doctor's in the doctor's office and you're sitting across the table from him and he tells you the words, "There's not much that we can do." Like, what is that actually? You know, there's not many people, you know, that you don't hear the feelings that are attached to that very often. What is that feeling kind of? How does that feel?
Good point. I'm not sure I felt anything. I think I was in a state of shock.
Right.
And certainly people that I work with now who have been diagnosed with illnesses and sometimes terminal, or working with them in hospices, you know, they can actually be in a state of shock.
Yeah.
And when you're in a state of shock, Bill, you don't actually feel anything at all.
Yeah.
You go numb.
That makes sense.
And you just shut down and you just go.
You just don't compute.
No. Nothing makes sense. So this is when the pathological laughter started, because the brain just went...
The body's just like, we got to do something.
Well, yeah. And in hindsight... And, you know, everything makes sense in hindsight. The body had taken over with the laughter to try and get everything happening again. Now, I was told this by another doctor that I started to work with several weeks after I obviously didn't pass on. And he just started to say, laughter is trying to heal your body.
Wow.
And I said to him, sit down, let's have a talk about that. Explain exactly how it's trying to do that. And he was the first one that opened my eyes and mind to the fact that laughter is the best medicine, and here's why. I'm going, wow, that's really fascinating.
Well, obviously that's one of the key things I want to dive into, but let's pick your story back up. So you came back, you came home, and then the 4 Fs, you started to plan your own funeral, which I can
It's humbling.
Oh, my God. Far out. Planning a wedding would be hard, you know, let alone the funeral. Far out.
What was interesting about that is I wanted it to be a celebration of my life, and I didn't want anybody mourning. You know, everything I'd done was at my own hands, so I didn't want anybody going, oh, you know, this is terrible. It just is what it is. But I'd had a great life up until then, and I wanted everybody to celebrate my life up until then. So I wanted my Bowie songs to be
which
played.
Bowie songs? I named my dog after David Bowie.
Oh, get out, really?
Ziggy Stardog, his name is.
It's just weird.
Dead set, though. Bowie's my favourite musician.
No, well, he was for many people, actually, and I cried for a week when he passed.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, I grew up with Bowie at the same age as him, you know. And 3 David Bowie songs. So Gene Genie. You know, imagine the coffin coming into the church, Gene Genie. You know,
awesome.
Bom, 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 really high level.
And good vibes. Celebration.
But
Sets the celebration
that's
tone.
That's it. Everybody hears Gene Genie. They're up and around and it's pumping. 100%. You know,
my one of my best friends' fathers passed away way too young.
Yeah.
And he wanted a celebration too, and he was just a goofball of a human.
Yep.
And a lovely guy. And his coffin came out to LaGrange by Z.
Is it ZZ Top?
ZZ Top, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's so, and everyone just started laughing because that was just his personality, you know.
But that's setting the tone for, come on, guys, this is what this is going to be about. So I wanted that with Gene Genie. And then halfway through Rebel, because I was a rebel in my youth. I grew up without a dad in my adolescent years and went a little bit wayward, so joined the military and they sorted me out, which was a good thing. And that was great from a business perspective because they taught me discipline and respect, so that was fantastic. And then on the way out, heroes. We can be heroes just for one day. I thought, leave them crying. They've had their good time. But the other thing, Bill, I made a list of the people who were wanted there, but just as importantly, the people who I didn't want there. You know, because I didn't want people going, oh, poor old Merv, who really didn't know me or hated me in business or something like that and just turned up for whatever reason. So I don't know, it was just a really humbling experience to sit down and just say to the folks, you know, this is who I was and this is where I'm at. And what's interesting now, and I was speaking to someone only yesterday who does life stories of people in aged care facilities. So the volunteers of MND actually go along and they'll record, just like this, people's life stories.
Yeah.
And the people love just telling, their life story, and then they document it in a book and then publish it as a book. So
yeah, that's great. For motor neuron disease, was it?
MND, yes.
Oh,
yes.
I had a friend pass with that as well. It was the most horrible thing I've ever seen.
It's a nasty thing, and I was working with someone who organised the volunteers just yesterday at another organisation who deals with people with acquired brain injuries. So, there's some tough gigs out there.
100%.
So that was it. Organised the finances. So, I'd made a lot of money, so I had to get rid of it really, really quickly and make sure that was all secure so that was always given across. And my wife to this day said it was the happiest day of her life, giving all this money. Spend it, do what you will with it.
She would have been spewing 3 weeks later. She's like, mate, what's
that's right.
what are you doing here? You keep waking up every day. This is not what we agreed to.
And then just told family and friends, this is what it is. And this is how it's played out, and these are the cards I've been dealt, and this is the way it's going to go. And that took about 2 days. I'm a businessman. I get things done.
Yep.
And then I sat down, I looked at my Jack Russell Terrier, and he just laughed at me, and I laughed at him, and we just laughed and laughed and laughed. And then he said to me, let's go for a walk. I'm going, let's go for a walk. Got nothing else to do. And so me and my dog became the best of friends. We were anyway, but we developed this really close relationship. And we would just laugh together, and we would walk endlessly. I was up way in the mountain, in the Dandenong Ranges there, and we walk up and down hills until we were exhausted. But he loved it. He thought it was fantastic. And we just laugh and laugh and laugh. And then one day I said to my wife, get me some oysters. She said, you don't eat oysters. I said, I do now. I just had this craving for oysters, and I just sit in the backyard and just eat oysters endlessly and throw the shells up into the backyard. But one day someone will be doing some digging up there and they'll think they've come across an ocean or something.
Yeah, that's right.
It was just me throwing the oysters up there. So it was surreal, but I was eating oysters, which I found out recently are great for your blood. Everyone thinks of, they're just an aphrodisiac, but they're absolutely great for your blood. Right. So it made sense.
You think your body was craving them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So listen to your body and just do what it tells you to do,
So you've never been a fan of oysters?
No, not at all.
It's like a pregnancy when women have, when they have cravings for... The baby's like, hey, I need some fucking chocolate milk.
But that's it, So my daughter's just had our fifth grandchild just a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting watching her develop those cravings. Yeah. And I just said to her, listen to your body and do whatever your body tells you to do. So this is innate intelligence of body over mind, not mind over body. And my body was telling me through the dog, laugh, walk, and eat oysters. And I just kept on feeling better and better and better. And then when I got in touch with this doctor, who just said to me what laughter was trying to do, he said, I want you to come back and meet with me every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Here is a recurring appointment. I've still got the business card. He said, come back and meet me every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock until you get better. And I thought, hang on, somebody else thinks I'm going to make it here. Now, what that doctor had given me was hope, and what the others had taken away was hope.
Yeah.
So it's really, really interesting. And when I'm working with people who are ill, and our medical professionals, bless them, they do such a good job, outstanding job. They just got to be careful of the wording that they use, because to take away hope from anyone, anytime, is saying it's over.
100%.
And they'll often follow that and go, well, if they reckon it's over, it's over. So,
have you ever read A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl?
A what?
A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
No, I know of Viktor Frankl, but never heard or read that book. No.
Yeah, so in A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl is a psychotherapist, and he's in Auschwitz, I believe, and a couple of other concentration camps through the Holocaust. And he talks about the will of the mind to control the body, and how important hope is.
Yes.
And he talks about the fact that in the concentration camps, everyone had cigarettes, but cigarettes were their currency.
Yeah.
So you would have 5 cigarettes that'd be like having $50, and you could buy rice with them, you could get a new pair of shoes, so on and so forth. And if you'd had a great day or something to celebrate, or maybe a rough day, that your friends and you would share a cigarette. You'd have a couple of puffs of a cigarette, and that's how you would use your cigarettes in concentration camps.
Okay.
But people always had 5 or 10, 15 cigarettes in their possession.
Yeah.
And he said that every time that he would see a friend in the concentration camps sitting down and smoking a full cigarette, he knew that within 24 hours they would drop dead.
Right.
And that was because they had given up. That was them signaling, "This is I don't need my currency anymore."
My last cigarette.
They were like it's like having no money in a concentration camp, and you have $5 left. You need that $5 for if you need whatever to keep yourself alive. They had nothing, and when they would see his friends sit down and just smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes in a row, and then they would know within 24 hours they would drop dead.
Interesting.
And that was because that was them giving up, signaling to them.
That was their farewell.
Yeah, that was them giving up. And so your point about the hope thing, the placebo effect is real. The placebo effect is it's shown in double-blind studies over and over and over how real the placebo and the nocebo effect. The opposite effect of if you go cancer patients that go into rooms that are coloured the same colour as the rooms that they had their heaviest treatment in, get queasy, upset stomachs and their blood pressure goes through and that's the body going, oh fuck, I know this feeling, I know this place, and that's all starts here. So I find it very interesting what you just said about the hope thing.
Couple of stories on all that stuff, and gee, don't get me started on the placebo stuff, because I think a majority of medicine is placebo.
Yeah,
I really do. I think that what I do with the laughter, a lot of it's placebo. Now, I just don't know how much.
Yeah.
So we just completed a research study with people in a pain management program, and we got some amazing results from that. And of course, what I'm hanging my hat on, I'm saying, the endorphins get released into your body. Our body's natural painkillers. Dr. Craig Hassard from Monash University, in his book, The Essence of Health, endorphins are 100 times more powerful than morphine, is his quote. So I'm going with, the endorphins did all this stuff. And then I sat down and I thought, or did we just tell them it was going to be good for them and reduce the pain? And did they do it all for themselves?
Yeah.
So, the placebo, I am right into that at the moment. And Michael Mosley, I enjoy some of his work, and he did a whole thing on placebo recently where he gave 100 people a nothing pill, but told 50 of them that it was good for them.
Yeah.
And those 50 got better and the other 50 didn't.
Yeah.
So, the placebo, and it's all about maybe starting with hope. So, 2 other things, going back to the concentration camp story, which is an intense one, when we were doing our other research study with people undergoing kidney dialysis, when we were doing the laughter sessions, it's all online for everyone to see. There was one gentleman in there who had a tattoo on his forearm. It was pretty obvious what that tattoo was from and for why. And we had a lot of downtime, and I started to talk to him about what was it like in Auschwitz, because these are historical stories straight from the mouth of people that were there. So I was fascinated with his story. And I said to him, wow, that must have been the hardest time in your life. And he goes, no, this is. And I said, why? Why undergoing kidney dialysis? Why is this the hardest time of your life? He said, I know I'm not going to get out of here. I'm going, oh, don't do that. I started to cry. I'm going, oh my God. He said, I always thought I was going to get out of Auschwitz. He said, but I'm not going to get out of here. And that was so deep and so profound. It just made me cry. Now, one of the things that happens with people on kidney dialysis, if they don't have a good fortune to have a replacement kidney, is they will choose to take themselves off the dialysis and subsequently die. And a significant person was Gurumul recently. He was on kidney dialysis and actually took himself off so that he could pass. So fairly intense. That's a story of one of the gentlemen in there that linked back to the hope and no hope. But one of the other people that was in there, you looked into their eyes and you could see there was no hope.
Yeah.
You can just see it in the eyes, Bill. They're just lost within themselves. And you go, oh, you're gone. Now, over the period of time that we're doing the research study and the laughter with these people undergoing kidney dialysis, she started to get a twinkle in her eyes again. She started to light up. And even the people in charge said that they were going to take them off suicide watch because they'd lit up. And I said to them, what do you mean by lit up? Tell me what lit up means. And they go, we don't know. And what they actually meant was the lights were back on in their eyes.
Wow.
So you take hope away from people, you'll see the lights go off in their eyes, and then there's no hope.
That's incredible.
We've gone too deep too quickly. I thought we were going to have a laugh.
Good. I know. But it's so funny though, because me and my friend Matt, we travelled, and the listeners know him actually. Roisey, we call him. His nickname's Roisey.
Okay.
Me and one of my best mates, Roisey, we travelled through South America for 7 months, and we always hated those posy photos standing in front of, like this sculpture or this mountain or whatever. So we'd always sit there and we go, hey, can you take a photo of us, mate? And someone would take a photo, and we'd stand there real cheesy and we'd look at it, we go, no, can we do that again? And we'd go, right, ready? You say something funny. Yeah. And he'd go, ha, 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 and then we'd fake the laughter, and then we'd actually start laughing. You know what I mean? There was like a point where you're like faking the laughter.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really laughing now because this is ridiculous.
Yes.
So when you're talking about these treatments that you did, so is that how it would work? Like, how does the laughter therapy actually work?
Nice segue. So the laughter yoga process is exactly that. So created by a doctor in India back in 1995. And he actually come up with, fake it till you make it. Now, that was sort of a cute, corny term at the time. But the whole philosophy is embody the laugh, put the body into a state of laughter, and as long as you give into the process, sooner or later the brain follows and you just start to genuinely laugh. So the fake laughing is, ha ha ha, ho ho ho, he he, all that sort of stuff. And as long as you keep going, something switches on in the brain that says, hang on, body's having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm
getting involved.
We may as well
I'm jumping on board here.
Jump in and join in the party. So with the people in kidney dialysis or chronic pain or the business research studies that we've done, we've got another one hopefully coming up really soon with people undergoing chemotherapy. None of this is funny. So to go in there and say, right, now let's have a hearty laugh, you're on a hide into nothing. So the laughter yoga process virtually says, well, we're going to pretend to laugh and fake the laugh. We're going to pretend to laugh, simulate it within the body, and then the brain will follow. So essentially every session that I did, the one that I did yesterday, the one that I'm doing tonight for another group, is we simulate the laughter, and then as long as the people go with it, eventually they start to laugh. And one person laughs, they lose it, and then they lose it, and then they lose it, then they lose it. And then all of a sudden they're just laughing and they're going, wow, this feels fantastic. And when it feels good, you just keep laughing.
Yeah.
That's the process.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. So why do you think... and every time I say something like that, it's a pun and I'm not really meaning it. But
that's all right. That's all right.
But so... Oh, why do you think... Because I don't really understand the science behind laughter, like the endorphins and so forth. So from a philosophical standpoint, I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to ask this question. You can answer it from a philosophical standpoint. And then you can answer it from a scientific standpoint as well. But why is laughter important?
Well, once you understand the benefits that it has for you, it's critical. All right? So... we talk about a sense of sight, smell, sound. These are all our senses. Another thing it's called a sense of humour.
Yeah.
And so that is a sense that's really, really important. Otherwise, we wouldn't be gifted with a sense of humour. Now, political correctness and all that sort of stuff is sort of stymied.
It's taken it away from us.
Our sense of humour more than a little bit. And all of a sudden we're going, this isn't funny, this isn't funny, this isn't funny, so we don't laugh. Now, we're a really stressed society nowadays, and we're falling ill to a whole heap of illnesses because we are so stressed and we've actually lost our sense of humour, the ability to provide that balance to say, well, this is really dark, but this is really, really light. So when you understand what laughter does to you at a mind, body and physiological point of view, you say to yourself, I really need to do this on a regular basis. It's a bit like saying, Bill, why is going to the gym important? Well, to get your heart and lungs pumping and to keep your weight down and keep your metabolism. That's why it's important. And if you don't do it, you're going to get sick. Laughter is an aerobic exercise, and once you understand what it does, you go, well, it's really important that I do it. So to run through the major things that it does, it improves your immune system. This has got a lot to do with the vagal nerve that attaches from your brain to your gut, and every time you laugh, it actually moves that vagal nerve, the connection between the body and the mind. So that's the body-mind-spirit link, when we talk about yoga that we refer to with laughter yoga. But then the other thing that's happening is moving the lymph around our body, all right? So our lymph duct goes right down our guts there as well too. And the diaphragm's pushing this lymph all around our body.
Cleaning out the cobwebs.
All that sort of stuff, and if your lymph system, your lymphatic system's moving around and creating all the killer cells and doing what it's supposed to do, it's going to keep you healthier than if you don't. And that's what laughter does. That's what we talk about when we talk about boost the immune system. Increases oxygen to the cells of your body and your brain. Laughter's an exhalation process.
Yep.
So the only way you can get oxygen in is to get carbon dioxide out, as simple as that. So if you laugh, ha 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 ha.
Oh, this is great. You're dragging me along.
Hang on. It gets better. The point I'm making is laughter is extreme exhalation.
Yeah.
And guess what happens after extreme exhalation? Extreme inhalation.
Yeah.
All right. So it gets more oxygen.
It's kind of like hyperoxygenating your system.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay,
absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another thing called meditation does exactly the same thing.
I meditate every day.
There you go. I was talking to a guy built similar to you, and I'm going, you obviously work out.
Greek God.
The Greek God, that's right, yes.
Greek God who hasn't been in the gym for a while.
I said to him, what do you do? He goes, I'm into this hyperbaric stuff. He said, 2 hours a day in an oxygen tank. I go, well, you get a laugh. I said, it's actually a similar process. So everyone's into this massive hits of oxygen. And that's what laughter does. So the more oxygen into your body goes into the cells, which is health, energy, providing glucose there, getting you up and about, but healthy brain as well. So your brain doesn't function without oxygen. And about 25% more oxygen required than other organs in the body. So why don't you laugh? Because once you finish laughing, you get this massive oxygen intake like you've never experienced. That's the second thing. Blood circulation. So it relaxes the muscles to allow the blood to flow more freely around the body, which is important because the blood carries the oxygen.
Yeah.
And then once it's finished carrying the oxygen, it picks up the rubbish and it actually expels the rubbish. So the blood combined with the oxygen is what's known as aerobic exercise.
Yeah.
And that's what we do in a laughter session. We provide aerobic exercise. Pain relief. We proved this with the pain management research study that we just did. It reduces pain. Let's just say through the endorphins for now. We won't go into the placebo, which is real. But then it helps people to manage their pain levels. So we found that not only does it reduce pain, but they have the ability to manage their pain levels so much better. So it reduces pain. Usually after a laughter session, people say, I've got no pain for 2 hours. Now that I believe through my readings is directly resultant because the endorphins going straight into the spinal cord and numbing the nervous system. Depression or anxiety, big issues at the moment.
Huge issues.
We call it mental health. It's actually mental illness. And you can't be depressed or anxious and laugh.
Yeah.
All right. So just for that,
hand in hand.
Just for that period of time when you're in the moment, because when you're laughing, you're in the present moment. With depression, you're stuck in the past. With anxiety, you're in fear of the future. When you laugh, it doesn't matter which end of the scale that you're at. You're just in the present moment. So I say to people, would you like to, just for the next hour, have no depression or no anxiety? And they go, bring it on. And for that hour, we actually put them into a state of nothing. And they go, that was really cool. I think, Bill, it then gets them questioning, hang on, do I really have to be depressed?
Yeah.
Is this really a state that I have to be in, or is there another way of getting out of it? And look, at the end of the day, that's what medications do. They take you out of the depressive or out of the anxious state. Doesn't cure the problem. It just takes you out of that state for a period of time.
But it's brain training as well with the anxiety and depression stuff. Like if you're training your brain to be in the if you can spend an hour of your 16 hours of waking day being totally present, that's why depression and anxiety and meditation is great. Going for a surf is great. Going for a bike ride, having sex with your partner, whatever. All these things that we have, you can't really focus on the past or the future and be depressed. So you have to be in the moment.
Correct.
You don't get those. You don't get that many of them in your day. If you're awake for 16 hours in the day, if you can slot in an hour of laughter therapy where you're going to be having to be in the present, that's training your brain. It's a skill. Your brain. It's like kicking a football. The more that you practice one state of mind, so I think that's amazing.
I do laughter training, and just recently, while we're talking about training your brain, how are we going for time?
Good. We got to. It's just so you know, because I didn't actually say this before the show, it doesn't matter. We'll leave it.
That's right.
It's in, but we've got a hard stop in about 25. So that'll
Perfect.
be the hour.
Perfect. This guy was a brain trainer, come in from Auckland to do the training in Sydney with me, and he had some devices which I've subsequently bought since then to start practicing with. He said, I just thought I'd share with you. He said, I do brain training and meditation and mindfulness and all that sort of stuff. And heart rate variability monitor that he had, he said, when I'm in a bad place, it's at this number. When I'm in a good place, it's at this number. When I do meditation, mindfulness, it's at this number. He said after a day of laughter training, he said the number's gone up to a point where I've never seen it before.
Really?
I'm going, cool.
Wow.
So there's so much that we don't know. So I've gone and bought a heart rate variability monitor. I'm going to start practicing with it now. So it does it all instantly and without us knowing it. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So, yes, surfing, going for a walk. I'm going to go back to my apartment and go for a swim. And when you're swimming, you just get into that zone. You go, this is cool. I'm thinking of nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what
flow
laughter
state.
does.
I don't really like the term flow state. Everyone uses it. But it does make sense, you know. You're just fully in the moment.
Yep.
And, there's nothing better. I'd love to see an MRI of somebody's brain when they're laughing, you know, like over and over and over. At a comedy show or you know what you do, an hour, whatever it is. But obviously, you know, more people probably go to the comedy shows and it's probably more common. But because I've been looking at seeing all the research that's coming out with psychedelic drugs, psilocybin for mental health, anxiety, and depression. And the reason that psilocybin has been granted breakthrough therapy status in Europe and the United States is because it switches off the default mode network. So it doesn't turn your brain on; it switches more parts off. And the default mode network is the self-biographical part of your brain. So that's the part that you know, I am Merv, I do this, people think this of me, so on and so forth. When you get a knock in the head in a car and you forget yourself, that's a part of your brain that you damaged. But on magic mushrooms or proper psilocybin therapies, that part of your brain switches off. And then through doing that, meditation, I 100% assume, just having a guess that laughter would be the same, meditation, float tanks, flow state, anything, it switches the default mode network off. You're not worrying about yourself. You're living totally in the present. So I'd love to see what an MRI of like a person's brain. I'm sure they're out there. A person's brain when they're laughing. You know, I'd assume that it would have the same effect.
I haven't done that, but there's a guy in the United States, Lee Burke from Loma Linda University, and he's done a lot of research on this laughter stuff, and he's got all the data about what happens in your brain, and it goes into a gamma state, and it's the same state as if you're in deep meditation. So he's already proven a lot of this stuff. And there's such a great link to meditation and mindfulness and laughter because the actual process of exhaling, and then breathing in, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Are you doing anything with the comedy festival?
Yes, I am. Nice segue again. Quick, let's do a plug.
I thought you might be because I want to do, every year the comedy festival comes around, I go more and more and more. And I actually wanted to try and get in touch with the comedy festival, and I wanted to do 30 days of comedy, 30 nights in a row. Every night of the comedy go to a show, and I wanted to interview a comedian every day.
Nice.
But I'm going to be away for the last week, so this year I just won't be able to do it. But I love the comedy festival. It's the greatest night out, and I just thought because it was coming up, because I looked at it today, I wanted to see when it started. I thought there might be something in there for you. What are you doing? You're just getting on stage and laughing, seeing people laugh. That would actually be a good show, by the way.
Well, I've thought about it on several occasions, and I think I'd be more like the Fringe Festival than the Comedy Festival.
Yeah, that's right.
By just getting up there and laughing. But I have thought about doing, and I will do it one day, I promise. But
I'll get a ticket.
But I'm in the process of seeing if I can get a TEDx talk at the moment. And TEDx contacted me just the other day, and they just said, by the way, we've got an open mic night, and it's at the start of the Comedy Festival at a premises in Melbourne. And they said, you know, we're going to award a slot to the top 10 applications. Would you like to apply? I'm going, yeah. And I got nominated as one of the top 10. So awesome. I am in the Melbourne Comedy Festival as a TEDx open mic talk.
No, so that open mic stuff attached to the festival.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So there you go. Cool. I've made it.
Yeah, well done. Well done. I'd love to do a TED talk.
But yes, to go to the Comedy Festival. But the interesting thing, Bill, is what I do is not comedy. And that's possibly the one thing that has stopped me doing it, because comedy relies on jokes. Yeah. We don't do jokes. We do just body laughter.
Yeah.
And
look, I'll play devil's advocate and say that comedy relies on... Because some of my favourite comedians don't tell jokes. They just tell their life story.
But they do.
Yeah.
But they do. And the best ones are the ones that just stand up and just talk about life.
Yeah.
And what they're actually telling people, and people don't actually understand this subconsciously, is they're telling people that life is funny. And you can actually be out there and see life as funny.
Yeah.
And that's why people love comedy festivals, apart from the fact that they have the ability to, their permission to openly laugh with another group of people, which is what my laughter sessions are all about. But they're saying life as it is funny, which is a sense of humour. And they're trying to portray that message. Unfortunately, we walk down the street and everything that we see says, oh, life's not funny, 24/7.
Everything we see says buy this, buy that.
And the 24/7 media cycle is it's bad. There's this catastrophe in Venezuela. There's this.
It's fucked.
But we're attached to it, and it's just coming at us the whole time. So we lose that sense of humour. So the comedy festival is so popular because people say, "Oh, can we escape from everything else and just go to a show just for an hour and just laugh and just lose our stuff 100%. For an hour?" So the greatest comedians like the Billy Connolly, Pete Hallier, these sort of people, they're not one line. They just stand up there and tell life
100%.
stories,
And I tell you what, to one of your points as well, like one of the greatest comedians of all time, in my opinion, is George Carlin. And George Carlin was political. He basically was a political satirist.
Oh, okay.
Taking the piss out of the world that we live in and realising that like it's ridiculous. And don't get too carried away in thinking about how important having a big house or having a good job or all this stuff that it's like he just takes the piss out of it, for lack of a better term, and it was great. It was an awesome form of comedy, I think comedians have that as not all comedians. You can go up there and just tell, knock jokes, and that's cool. But a lot of comedians, I think they're allowed, in the day and age now that we can't say what we think a lot of the time for lack of or for risk of persecution. That a comedian, because it's all about where it's delivered from. If it's delivered from a place of, hey, have a look at this, it's silly, let's have a laugh and whatever, then it's okay. I really think comedy is about where is it coming from? Is it coming from a good place, or is it coming from an evil place? What you're saying, and you can joke about most things in that case. And I think comedians comedians are really important because they can get up on stage and talk about current issues like no one else and get away with it. Bring things to people's minds. It's not what a comedy's all about, but it's really important, and I think it's still great comedy. So, I think we need it more and more in this day and age where you can't bring topics up for risk of getting smashed on Facebook or getting...
social media is an interesting one. It's created a big divide now. We've got a love-hate relationship with I got sucked into one this morning, and I'm going, why am I doing this? Because I was sucked into that I don't like this, and if I'd let myself keep going, it would have gone to a love-hate relationship, So comedians just say, can we just lighten up and can we look at the world in a different way? And it's a comedic way, but it appeals to our conscious brain. We still have to process it through the brain and go, is that funny or isn't that funny? So political satire, if you're on the wrong side of the political fence, you might go, nothing is funny. So we're not going to laugh at you. So comedians, there's different types of comedians for different types of audiences, and as long as you get the right comedian for the right audience,
got to know their crowd.
Everyone just sits there and just kills themselves laughing for a whole hour, and it gets to the stage where you haven't even heard the joke, but as soon as they hit the punchline, you go, oh, that's my cue to laugh again. So everyone just laughs again. And certainly the infectiousness of people laughing around you is just golden. If you hear someone authentically laughing around you, you just go, oh, this feels so good. That person is in such a state of joy, it's doing me good.
It's funny, though, because my favourite TV show of all time, or my two probably, are The Office, the UK version, and Seinfeld. And, both comedies, and I know that if I'm sitting watching The Office by myself, I won't laugh out loud.
No.
I love it. I love The Office. But if I'm sitting by myself, I won't laugh out loud. And I'm thinking, that is hilarious, but I'm just not laughing out loud because it's by myself. And then if I'm sitting with one person or a group of people, something comes on, I'm like,
I know.
What happens there?
What happens there is we laugh inside. And I love comedy, and Ricky Gervais is possibly one of the greatest comedic geniuses out there.
Agree.
No doubt about it.
Agree.
I don't like Seinfeld just because I don't like American comedy with the canned humour. That's just me. That's my preference. But because I don't like it, it doesn't matter who they are. As long as they're American who's got canned laughter, I don't like it. Whereas if it's British, I'll give them a chance.
Yeah.
And Ricky Gervais, it's not what he says, but what he does. It's that little glint into the camera, just a look into the camera with his eyes, and you go, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But I'll be sitting there as a laughter expert for hours on end watching all this comedy, and I won't have laughed once.
Yeah,
I'm going, oh my goodness, I'm laughing inside.
Yeah.
Yet as soon as you get me with someone else, mate, play the tape back. We've laughed a lot.
Yeah, that's
because you're laughing and I'm laughing. So you feed off each other.
It's so weird, isn't it?
It is, but it makes sense because when we're alone, we go within and we just, we've got nothing to feed off. And we watch it and we're stimulated by it, but we don't actually respond the same way as if we were in a group of people actually laughing. So what's interesting about that is a lot of the research studies that have been done on comedy. And comedy is very subjective. And I will tell you now, even Ricky Gervais in a room full of people laughing, you still won't laugh in the same way as you would in one of my laughter sessions because it's coming from a different place. And it's coming from the body controlling the mind rather than the mind controlling body.
Interesting.
But it is fascinating that you can sit there all night. And a lot of people will say to me, oh, I laugh all the time. And I look at them and I go, tell your face. There's something about your face that says you haven't even smiled in the last decade.
I was talking to this girl. I was sitting on a plane next to me one time. I don't know where I was going, but I was flying. And we talked about, I don't know what, but we talked about age. We just asked each other our ages or something. And I just said something funny about, not funny. I said something about, I definitely can notice a few more wrinkles in my photos or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm 33. Maybe I just turned 30 in the last little while. And I said, she asked me something about that. I really don't remember the conversation well, but I said, the only place I bloody get wrinkles though is up here.
Yep.
And she goes, oh, that means you've laughed a lot in your life.
Correct.
She's like, they're happiness wrinkles.
Laughter
and
lines.
I said to her, you know what? I've laughed a fucking shitload. So that's great.
Botox laughter.
That's probably the non-laughter one, the old furrowed brow,
but it is.
The stress one.
But it is. And you see people, and I just presented at the Melbourne University with Monash University Law Forum, and lawyers are really serious.
Yeah.
And it shows in their face. I'm not saying I'm not having a go at lawyers. I'm just saying if you're involved with something serious all the time and your face is serious all the time, it takes on that look. Now, it's a thing called physiognomy where we can actually change the face as a result of doing laughter. And I've done physiognomy studies with a company in the UK, even presently. Physiognomy.
Never heard of that.
Look it up. It's like gelotologist.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one too.
It's the change of the face over time as a result of something.
Okay.
And we did pictures of people just before a laughter session and then after a laughter session, and it's as if they've been transformed.
Really?
Absolutely. They go in looking like this and they come out and you go, wow, that is a makeover. Instant makeover. Wow. And over time, whether it was in the kidney dialysis unit or the pain management study, you could actually see people's faces change over the time. They're starting to light up and just become more joyful. And you have a look at the other people when you go out in the office here, you'll be able to go, yeah, you laugh a lot, you don't, you're happy, you're not happy.
Oh, you can tell. I can tell who I want to kind of talk to in the room. And
sure.
You go, I don't really want to go.
Won't go near happy today.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to ruin my mood.
So that's physiognomy, and we're doing work with a UK company with artificial intelligence at the moment. And one of the things that the computer does is have a look at them before and have a look at them after, and the change is just amazing.
Really? Wow.
Amazing. Yep.
I know that because, yesterday, it's funny that we're having this conversation today because yesterday I spent a lot of time looking at a computer, and that's, not ideal anyway.
Nope.
But yesterday I spent probably 7 hours out of the 9 hours of my day looking at a computer screen but talking. Yesterday was one of the most harrowing days I've ever had just because it just sucked the life out of me. Not really. It was fine.
No, it was a day.
But I led, every talk was like client meeting that I led for an hour or like team meeting that I led for an hour.
Yep.
Or I was just talking all of that time. And when I talk on the computer screen, I talk like
You're doing
this.
it now.
I talk like this,
Because it's serious.
Yeah. And it's a little bit in between your eyes. And after my day finished yesterday, I got my Apple, what was it called? Apple TV remote.
Yeah.
It's just like this nice little bit of minimalist. And I sat there and I was like this.
That's it.
I was trying to flatten out. I could feel it. I've never done it before in my life.
There you go.
But because we're having this conversation, it was actually, I felt like I was always just stuck like this. I'm like, oh.
Yep.
So I was flattening out my forehead.
Yep. Yep. Well, you can laugh.
Yeah.
Does exactly
that would have
the
done the
same
job. I should have sat there. Oh man, what a classic. So how does laughter yoga actually work?
Well, just like that. So we simulate it into the body to override the conscious brain.
Do you do positions though as well? Like
laughter exercise.
Proper
yoga? Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. But the yoga that we talk about is the yoga breathing.
Yep.
All right, so we laugh, we clap, we breathe, and the breathing is the yoga breathing. So we actually, between the laughs, just take a moment out to do the deep belly breathing and just relaxing the jaw and just sighing it out, and then we hit them with another laugh, another laugh, another laugh, and then we do the yoga breathing. So that's
I want to do one.
Sure.
I want to come do one.
Sure. Well, we're just down the road, 10-minute walk from here.
Oh, I'll come.
So come along to one of our laughter classes. It's an experience that everyone should have at least once.
Yeah. I'm going to do it for sure. What time are they? When do they?
6 o'clock to 7 o'clock every Tuesday night at South Bank, the Boyd Community Centre. Doing a blatant plug here.
Yeah,
but there's Laughter Clubs Victoria, there's Laughter Yoga Australia, there's clubs all around Australia, in fact, all around the world.
I'm going to do one.
Yeah.
I've never done a laughter class before.
Yep, there you go.
I'm obsessed with self-development. Not even self-development. I'm just obsessed with mood and happiness and wellness. You know, like I've been taking magic mushrooms for the last 18 months in a therapeutic setting for myself and just trying to figure it out for myself if I think it works. You know, I meditate every day. I have gratitude journal, and I'm doing a lot of work on my gut health because of the gut and brain connection and so forth. And it's just something that my grandpa took his own life, and then I've got like lots of stuff going through my family of mental health, and it's just I'm actually intrigued by the whole idea, and I would love to check it out.
Well, when you get into Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, it's about holistic health. It's about the whole body, not just curing the symptoms of the disease. So they go through the energy centers, the chakras, and mental and physical health is only 2 of the 7. You know, it's complex. We've got to work on all 7 of them, align them, open them up. And that's what true holistic health is all about. So, everybody is obsessed with mental health. I'm going, what about emotional health? What about social health? What about self-health? What about the other energy centers of your body? And that's the traditional medicine that's been around 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, which for the last 200 years we've just forgotten about.
That's social health is an interesting one because I had a conversation the other day with I had a conversation on the podcast, and one of our listeners reached out and said, hey, that was an interesting take on binge drinking, because I was talking about how I know that my mental health would be a lot better if I didn't drink at all. I said, you know what, though? I just want my mental health to be good, and I want to be able to drink. And I said, you know why? Because unfortunately, it's a social... You know, the way that our society is structured right now, I can't go in and change the way our society works. Like a lot of, having beers with my mates and over dinner or going and getting drunk, whatever. It is a way that my group of friends, we bond. And so, and I said, look, as long as, I don't mind feeling hungover at all, but I don't like feeling, anxious and so forth in the head. It's not worth it for me when I start to get in those kind of patterns, and I don't drink much. But I said, but the juice is a lot of the times worth a squeeze, because if I have a good night out with my mates, and it doesn't have to be drinking, but I'm just saying that a lot of the time it is, If I have a good night out with my mates, like for example, last Thursday, I had beers with, it was in the last couple of weeks, I had a nice dinner with my mate, and I had like 6 beers and maybe not even, but 3 or 4 beers and a good amount of food, heaps of laughter, and it was just awesome. And then the next day, I had another night with another couple of mates, and then the day after, Sunday, I'd had a couple of nights of having a little bit of some booze, and I shouldn't be feeling great, and Monday I shouldn't have been feeling. I was just jumping out of bed. I was bouncing out of bed because I'd caught up with some of my oldest friends and just laughed their heads off the whole time. And I think that I don't even know if that's what you meant by social health, but that was my just take on it, is getting with your friends and just having a good catch up and a good laugh. Like, it is literally the best medicine.
Well, that is exactly what social health is all about. It's having some mates, some associates that you can hang out with, share your deepest issues. They don't have to be at work, and they're just people you can hang out with and just have a really good time, even if it's just telling people what upsets you, those really close connections. Unfortunately, social media and IT and everything is actually disconnecting us. So it's making us socially isolated. causing all sorts of mental health issues. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And we have a culture in Australia of drinking. So if we're going to go out, we will generally go out to a bar and we'll have a drink. That's just what we do. But when the drinking gets out of control, for whatever reason, be it binge drinking or to try and forget or whatever it is, the circumstances to that, and they manifest in our bodies, in people being admitted to hospital. And once again, nice segue without you knowing it, my gig tonight is for adult children of alcoholics. I'm going, wow, it's a support network, adult children of alcoholics. I'm going, hang on, I'm actually one of them with my dad. He drank himself to death. He was an naval seaman through the Second World War, very violent man as well. But, there is consequences of this alcoholism. And I live in Melbourne here, and I only have to go out after 12 o'clock at night, which I don't. And you see the impact of too much alcohol on society. It's unhealthy in so many ways. So many ways. So have a good group of friends. Have a couple of drinks with them because it loosens the inhibitions. And the common thing that you'll find is the laughter. You'll just have so much laughter. 100%. You'll know you've had a good time.
100%. I think one of the things that's lacking in our society, I talk about this over and over and over on this podcast, is which I'm interested to hear if you've heard of it before, is like the concept of a third place. So people have home is not place number one.
Okay.
Work is place number two. Yep. And the third place is that's like your happy place normally. That's like a place that you choose to go to.
Sure.
Which is like your rowing club or your chess club or your weekly, salsa dancing, get together or whatever that is. Yeah. And we're distancing ourselves from, social environments like that more and more and more. The more that we get into this social media era, and I think it's just really not healthy. So that's why I've done a lot of work with my new business with gyms, and there are a lot of our clients are gym owners. So we really help them in their business, and it's great because they're a really, really important social construct for people. I feel like it might be the best hour of their day going into the gym, the best hour of their week. If they only make it in once, is that. And I think social health is. The concept of a third place is really big for me in the social health aspect.
I'll think about that this afternoon, but 2 points on that. When we have the Laughter Club every Tuesday night, people often say this is the happiest place of the week. I'm going, it could be a little bit sad if it's the happiest time, happiest place. Yeah. But they just, we just love coming to this place and having a big dose of laughter. Yeah. With these happy, positive people and hearing their laughter. I'm going, maybe that's their happy place. The point is, at the end, we do a little grounding meditation, and at the end, I'll always say, now, your body's nice and relaxed, you've been laughing, and now you're grounding. And then I say, now smile and go to your happy place. Now, I don't tell them where that is, but you can just see them light up. I go, I don't know where you've gone, but you've gone to your happy place. So I take your point. Even if you can't physically go there, when you're meditating, you can actually go there. Go to that time when you are happy and free, and it just takes you away from the other two, which may not be your happy places.
Let's
how much time
quickly,
have we got?
Look, we've probably got about 5 minutes, Merv, and we'll wrap it up. But I just wanted you to touch on this laughter quotient that you mentioned before the show. So what's going on there? Explain that to me.
Yep, thank goodness for that, because I thought we haven't got onto the laughter quotient yet. I know time's moving on.
Yeah.
So I was watching a TED Talk, and someone said there's the art of laughter, but not the science. And I'm going, well, let's create the science of laughter. So science is a series of mathematical equations, E equals MC squared. And then I looked at medicine. I'm going, hang on, medicine's a mathematical equation. Blood pressure, 120/80, heart rate variability. It's all mathematics. And so I thought, well, let's create, even when they're prescribing medication, take 2 pills 3 times a day for a week.
33 grams of this
element. It's all maths. Yeah. So where is the maths of laughter? So I created the laughter quotient, which is a mathematical equation. And what we now need to do with this mathematical equation, now that we have the numbers and the denominators and all that sort of mathematical stuff, is to start administering it to people with certain diseases as you would a medication. So the laughter quotient is length times repetition divided by volume times pitch. Now, that probably won't mean anything to anybody, but that's okay. The fact is they are the 4 different parameters. It's the length of the laughter, it's the amount of times that we laugh, within that period of time, it's the volume that we laugh and it's the pitch. And this is based on everything that I've known about the body, mind and physiology and what happens. And what we do is we start playing with the person's laugh. So the people that I'm working with at the moment with the laughter quotient, they have a known disease and I'm trying to cure them of that disease. Now, by that I mean take away the symptoms, because as far as I'm concerned, that's what curing a person is. You take away the symptoms and they're cured. So we're working with someone with depression, someone with anxiety, someone with pain, and someone with fibroid tumours. And we are playing with the laughter quotient to have an impact on that person. So let's just pick the person with depression. Let's say with administering the laughter quotient and getting them to laugh in a particular way for a particular period of time, for a particular length of time, if all of a sudden they have no depression anymore, I then analyse that, and I've got a graph. My military experience has me understanding sound waves and all that sort of stuff as an electronics engineer. And I go, okay, is that the laughter cure for depression? So I go to somebody else with depression and go, laugh like this many times a day. So that's how we're trying to prove the concept of it all. And we're trying to do it with 4 different people. And, we'll just see what happens. But it gives the ability, first of all, for people to understand it as a mathematical equation and go, okay, so what are you telling me if I increase this number here and decrease this? Is this a placebo coming back?
Yeah, but if it's not a placebo, but you're not administering anything. So it's not really a placebo like how you've taken something. It's just, it is the effect. And it is it is an effect that comes from here, but it doesn't mean it's a placebo. It is what you haven't given any exogenous or
no magic mushrooms.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
As an example.
But you know what? I have no doubt, to be honest. I mean, what do I know? But I have no doubt that you'll find the right results in that study.
I know I will.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because if you do studies on someone who meditates for an hour a day, they're going to get good bloody results. You get someone who goes for a surfing for an hour a day, you get all these different things. Like if you consistently do it, and if because of what it does to the brain and to the body with the endorphins and stuff, I have absolutely no doubt that you'll, in 5 years' time, and let's be realistic, maybe in 20, 30 years' time, maybe it will be that, magic mushrooms are prescribable by physicians. Laughter therapy is a practice that's fully adopted into the world. There's people have to go and have, in their workplace, they have to go surfing for it. They have to have, happy place time in their day every day, because like all these things that it makes perfect sense, but we just haven't really gotten there yet. I think we're starting to get there and we're starting to trial it all and test it all out, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, so the laughter quotient's exciting. It's making sense of something that we know is good for you, and we can actually change some parameters and administer it as you would a medication. Now, the good thing is there's no negative side effects.
Yeah.
So if you take other external medications, there will be a side effect, and sometimes they're negative. There is no negative side effects with this, and we're having great results. So watch this space. You interviewed the guy who created the laughter quotiont, so good on you.
Amazing. And I'm going to be famous one day, mate.
Well, so let's see what happens. But I'm going to work hard on this because I know it's the next stage of science and medicine, using laughter as a therapy. So very excited about the whole thing.
Awesome. All right, well, Merv, let's finish off with quickly, where can people find you? So anything that you want to plug? I know you've mentioned a lot of stuff. Where's the best places for people to find you and what you're doing? Yeah,
not hard to find, mervneal.com. So I've got my own website. Laughter Yoga Australia. Type in laughter into most things, my name will come up, so not hard to find there. I encourage people to look for a laughter club, go down and experience what it is to get together with other people and just have a laugh and put their laughometer on at home and at work. If you're watching something funny, how often do you actually laugh? Because it's the actual process of laughing where all the magic stuff happens. So go and find some happy friends to hang out with and have a laugh, but be mindful of how much we don't laugh and how seriously we take life nowadays, and just get a little bit of balance there. That's all.
All right. Well, Merv, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Bill, it's a pleasure.
I think let's finish with 30 seconds of you've got to take me, you've got to get me laughing. Let's do it. Let's finish on a laugh.
Yeah, all right. So I never make anybody laugh, but I'm going to take you through a laughter exercise just to see what happens. All right. Okay. So our laughter comes from 3 places. So just put your hand on your throat there, Bill, and just smile and breathe in. and go Can you feel it in your throat?
Yeah, you can feel it.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. That's often evil laughter.
That was the Dr. Evil laugh, wasn't it? The actual Dr. Evil laugh.
So what was interesting, as soon as I said that, you went, ha, 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 which is the second laughter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Put your hand here.
Yeah.
Smile and breathe in. And go, ha, 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 ha. That's called hearty laughter.
Yeah, yeah.
That's our default laughter. If
right.
we see or hear something funny, we go, ha, 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 ha. So evil laughter or shy or concerned laughter,
Yeah. Yeah.
This is our default. The real magic happens here, all right?
Okay, cool.
Hands,
I'm nervous.
smile and breathe in. Don't be. You're in with a trained professional. Smile and breathe in. Go. So what we do when we're helping people find their laughter, we just explain where it comes from and just how we're trying to get it coming from here. You know, it's just about moving it down into there. And then the last thing we do is we use our smile string. So grab your smile string, pull it nice and tight, bite it, pull it up over your headphones, drop the jaw, and just go,
Oh,
so
my God.
that's just a little taste of what we do, and it's to trick people. You know, it's simulated just to trick them to get out of their head, and then once they start to find that real laughter, they go, "That felt fantastic. Can we do it again? Can we do it again? Can we do it again?" That's what a whole laughter session is. Just a series of allowing yourself. It's good for you. Yeah, you get an instant oxygen hit.
Yeah, you do.
Go straight to your head.
100% you do.
So it's good.
All right, Merv.
Are we done, sir?
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much. That's a wrap. We do that.
Yeah, that's
Fantastic.
a wrap. Thanks, Merv.
Nice
Appreciate
meeting you.
it.
Take care.